May 21st, 2019 this is a video playthrough of Rogers Rangers, America's First Commandos. It's a solitaire war game produced by Decision Games and designed by Joseph Miranda. And typical of Joseph Miranda, Rogers Rangers is a small footprint, point-to-point, card-driven war game. Lots of charts and graphs are on the map. We'll deal with that as we go. The game is part of a mini-series called Raiders. The standard rules are only 4 pages long. And it comes with specific scenario for Rogers Rangers, which is a front and back one sheet. So 2 more pages of special rules and dealing with the units and their functions. Here are the different missions. So in total 6 pages. The problem is it's a mess. The rules are confusing, they're missing sections, it's convoluted. Here's my errata that I've been working on. And just about every section needs some explanation or feel house ruled. I have, as you can see here, if I can turn the page, 2, 3, there you go, 4, oh, not done. 5 pages of errata. Made a little chart here for the sequence of play, or what we call the operations. There it is, right here, and we'll be referring to that. So really this video is to show you how to play. Once you get the mechanics and understand the rules, it plays fast and furious. So there are 4 missions. Here are the mission cards. And we're going to start off with the first one historically, which will be the scouting mission, which is, let's see. There we go. Right, and then there are other missions. As you can see, this one is rescue, frontier raiding, and then the big campaign. So we're gonna deal with scouting, and the first thing you do is you place your 6 objectives randomly using this chart here. So you roll 2d6. And you place them, and so that's been done. You can see there's some close to the staging area, which is Rogers Island, Fort Edwards here. The pawn I'm using to represent the force. It doesn't come with the game, but it's easier moving this force around with a stack of units. All right, then the other thing is, if you look at the mission card, it gets very specific. You set your alert level, and that is at 1, French alert level. And you're going to have cards that are going to ask you to roll against this alert level. So you also, your mission is scouting and more specifically recover the intel. So one of these objectives is information that you have to reveal and get it back to Rogers Island in order to complete, well, the campaign. Actually, in the mission, you just reveal it, you win the game. So, but on getting it back would be a little bit more challenging. Execution, 6 ops. What that means is you're going to start with 6 of these operation cards, and you draw 1 every turn. So I have them stacked right here. Then logistics, 8 RPs. Okay. So you start with what's called recruit points, and with these recruit points you can recruit a force. So what I've decided to do was recruit a fast fighting force, fast moving. So 3 ranger units at the cost of 2. That would be 6 of my 8 RPs, and they have a movement allowance of, you can see them over here, a movement allowance of 3. So the first numero is the combat strength, and the second one at the top is the movement. So 3-3. Pretty. There's some stronger units. There's some light infantry here that are stronger but slower. There's an artillery unit that's really strong, but it's really slow. You're going to see why I needed to go with a fast force, nothing slow, that still kind of has a little punch in its fighting force, because I only have 6 operations. That's 6 turns. So I had 6 turns to go find the intel and technically get back. All right, so I recruited 3 Ranger units, and of course, Roger comes with it free of charge. And what I like to do is give Roger a hatchet, which increases his, where's Roger? Roger over here, which increases his 1. The plus is his tactical advantage. You're going to have to see who fights first. But there's the hatchet's going to make him a 2. All right, so, and then I recruited a long rifle, which gives me another +1 to tactical advantage. So actually going into a fight with a +2 tactical advantage, both rolls, and the one with the highest number is going to fire first. And if it's a tie, then you look at the terrain chart, and the terrain chart tells you who wins the tactical advantage on the ties. There's a terrain type. The ones you have to stop on, you cannot move through, are French forts and mountains. All right. So let's get started, I guess. The mission, continuing on. Logistics, we said we made a force of Roger, hatchet, long rifle, and 3 fast-moving Rangers. And then under that, command of 3. Now what that means is that Roger can command 3 units. Now again, house rule, with these cards, you could possibly draw extra units like the Indians or militia, and I'll talk about the militia shortly. The card did not come with the game, so I created, here's some samples. I created a militia card because it talks about the militia coming in through card play, and there's no card, so I made one. Anyway, the house rule is that if you draw an extra unit, then it doesn't count towards your command limit. So you start with maximum of 3, and I have 3. And then if you win the mission and you're playing the campaign, the success is what you get to start the next campaign. In this case, if I win it, you get to reveal 1 objective after setup, which is a really sweet bonus. Okay, so here's the sequence of play. First thing you're going to do is, number 1, you can recruit if you have any remaining recruiting points. So we spent all 8 of ours on 3 Rangers. They're two RPs apiece. That leaves us 1 hatchet and 1 long rifle. So we're out. So there's nothing we can do as far as recruiting, but you can gain some of these. You can gain some of these. Let's see, through card play. Now, the other thing you can do in the first one is scouting, and I'll show you that. If you're adjacent to somebody, which we're not. We're starting here. So Mohawk Valley, nobody's there. You're looking for an objective. You can maybe reveal Fort William Henry. It's blank in this little open space. Here's another one. The terrain chart talks about wilderness, which is a brown circle. There aren't any brown circles. They're all green circles on the map. But the rules talk about the fighting ability of some French forces in open terrain, and there's no open terrain. So basically, what I'm house ruling is that the circles, the wilderness, are the actual open terrain. Okay, so first move, first turn, 1, recruiting, scouting. There's nothing to do here. Secondly, you want to move, and I can move 3. And so, let's see, let's get our direction. So north is to the left. And so east is up and west is down towards Lake Ontario. So I can go west and come out here to this one. It's not very productive. Everybody's in this line here. The problem is if I go directly north, these are French forts. And I have to stop. And one of the advantages for the French, for the hostiles, they're calling them, is that they get an extra unit if you end up having combat. So you may want to scout those and avoid going into those areas. There is an ambush. One of these objectives is an ambush that triggers a battle. And I have a very small force that can be eliminated quite readily. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go east. So I'm going to move. I can move 3, but I have to stop. So I'm going to move 1. And then I'm going to come to this fort number 4. Anytime you move into a space with an objective, you have to stop. So that's my movement. Number 1, no recruiting, no scouting. Number 2, movement. The third phase, or what they call segment, is to draw an operations card. So here's my 6 operation card, 6 operations, and I'm going to flip the first one. And this is interesting because the first card is the one I made. It's the militia, and basically I took another card. I messed around with some of the designs. You can see the image here. This is already one that came with the game on another card, so I used it. Here's another one. So basically what you're doing is you have the possibility of drawing out the militia. And it says make an alert check. So for speedy play, the dice, I've already rolled the dice. And I rolled a 2. And basically what alert check says is if you roll less than and equal to the alert level, and the alert level is 1. So if I rolled a 1, I would get the militia, in this case also the supply. I made up this rule. It's missing. It's missing from the card deck, but we didn't do that. Now, if you roll greater than your alert level, which is what I did, I rolled a 2, there's no effect. Now, on these cards, it's another goof. So it says die roll less than and equal, die roll greater than equal. So you can't have both. But in the rules, it's very clear that the alert level, the alert check is die roll less than and equal or die roll greater than the alert level. So all the cards that have this, you have to make the correction. Now, this is one of the typical errors. So I hope you like my malicious called out card, and that's our first operation. And unluckily, we didn't get it. I was hoping to get that militia to increase the force. Again, the rules aren't clear, but it says my command is 3. Can I have a 4th unit? If my command is 3, so yeah, house ruled that if I had gotten the militia, then my command level technically can go up to 4. You can play whatever way you want to play. All right, so that was number 3, operations card segment. Number 4, combat. There's none, so NA. And then 5, reveal the objective. So let's see what we have here. All right, we're going to flip it over, and it's hostile. So that is you have a mission to try to find and destroy the enemy's village. In that case, this is not the mission, so you just simply remove it from play. And that's the end. Turn 1. All right, I went pretty slow on that, but this can move very fast. So again, I'm going to refer to this so you can follow it. Is there recruiting? Well, I don't have any recruit points, so I can't do that. Is there any scouting? Well, there's nothing adjacent here or here. No objectives to reveal, so I'm going to skip that phase. And then number 2 is movement. Now this is what I was talking about. I went with the fastest force possible, and it's a 3, unless it's Rogers by himself, which can move 4, as you can see. So I'm going to move 3 to this open wilderness space, 1, 2, and to this British fort. There's nobody here, so that's going to end my movement. Fort Wentworth, and I'm right east of the Green Mountains. All right, and then I draw an operations card as number 3. So our second operations card-driven game is Pontiac, and it says, number 1, if the operating force has a leader, gain 1 op. Well, yes, I have Rogers. This is Robert Rogers. So, gain 1 operation. Now, what that means is that we go to our reserve deck, we take the top card, and we add it to our stack, and that now gives me a total of 7 operations, which I may need. This is a very short operations. I mean, it's to go out and find an intel in 6 turns, so 7's going to be very helpful. So I gain an operations, and what else does it say? Number 1, if operating force has a leader, gain 1 op. I did that. Also, if the Indian unit is currently in the recruit box, place it with the operating force. Well, it's in the recruit box. Here's militia I didn't get. Where is it? Oh, I pulled it out already. So it's supposed to be in there. I didn't initially recruit the Indians. So it joins the force. Here we go. There you go. Got the Indian. That's again, there's an example where my operation is only 3 units, and I'm going to add a 4th one because the card tells me to. If I had the Indian unit already, or if I had a battle and lost it and draw this card, I would lose 1 operations. I'd lose that operation that I just gained. That would be terrible. Okay, so that is number 3. Number 4, combat. There's none. And 5 is reveal an objective. There's none. So we move on to turn 3. All right, so from here, I'm just gonna talk it out. So number 1, scouting, recruiting. I don't have any recruit points. There's nobody adjacent, so I'm going to go to movement. And this is maybe I made a maybe a slight error in judgment because I have to stop if I go. I want to say stop. If I go west, I have to stop in the mountains. If I go around, this is what I thought about doing, coming around this way, and then I'm on my way home. If this is one of the intels. And I really wanted to avoid these guys for last because that could be trouble, the French forts. But this is 1, 2, 3. That would be 1 turn, 1 operation. 1, 2, 3, 2. It takes me 3 to get here, and this is a French fort. So this is 1, and then 2. This is the shorter route. So my next turn 3, I'm just going to move in the mountains, stop, draw an operations card. And it's Fortunes of War, roll 1 die. Die roll that I previously rolled is a 5. And the 5 is reveal 1 objective. Okay, so I've already revealed 1. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 left. And what I want to do is reveal this one far out here because I want to know if this is it and I can stop messing around and just come get it because I don't have much time. And these are relatively close, so I can get to these before my operations run out. So let's reveal this one and see if it's the info. And it's not. It's abandoned. So there's nothing here. You just remove it. So I've already revealed 2 of the 6 objectives. So that intel is 1 of these 4. All right. So that was the ops card. And now I will go to combat. There's no combat. And then objective segment. If there was an objective in the space, then I would reveal it. So turn 4. Turn 4, again, scouting, recruiting is not happening. Movement, now I can move 2 spaces because this is 1, and I could either go north or south, and I would have to stop because there are objectives there. So I'm going to go north, and I'm going to stop because there's an objective here. All right, so that's my movement operations card. I'm going to draw. And it's Wilderness Challenge. And roll a die. The die roll is a 4. So on a 3 or 4, if you have a long rifle, gain 1 RP, which is recruiting point. Otherwise, lose 1 RP. Never lower than 0. Well, guess what I have as part of my force? A long rifle. That gives me a +1 tactical advantage along with Roger's tactical advantage. So that's why I brought it along. It's only cost of 1 RP. I have it, so I'm going to gain 1 RP. So I go over to my Ranger recruit point chart. I'm going to move this up to 1. Now, I could spend 1. Not sure what I could spend it on. I have the hatchet. I have the long rifle. Really, there's nothing else to buy here. The militia is house ruled to cost 1, so I could probably buy the militia, but now I don't have room for it. I can't add it to my force. My force is only a 3, so I can't I can't break that rule unless it's a card draw is the house rule. So game one, that's pretty good. And I move on to combat. There's no combat. Usually the operation card will trigger a combat, or not usually, but sometimes, and I'd have to conduct the combat in phase 4. There's no combat, so then 5, objective. I'm going to reveal the objective that's under me. And there's the info. That's what I'm looking for. So that 1 RP, that's going to, if I get it back, it's going to get me some success for my next mission. So boom, that's it. And end of turn. So turn, I forget now, is it 5? I want to get back. Now technically I won the mission, but if I'm playing a campaign, you want to get that intel back to Rogers Island. But what I want to show you is the scouting segment. So number 1. So here's an example. I don't have to do it because I found it, but just to show you, I'm adjacent to my position with Ile aux Noix is Fort Saint-Jean. And for my first one, I'm going to scout, which is adjacent to me. I'm just going to flip this over to see what it is. And it's the ambush. Now, that's the benefit of scouting out. If you have a scout unit, every one of these are scout units. You flip them on the back and you can see all the Rangers are scouts, and Rogers is a scout. The Indian is a guide, and there's a guide rule. What you can do if you have a guide, and this is the only guide, what you can do with a guide is if you draw a card, an opposite card that you don't want, you can actually exert the guide rule if you have a guide, which I do, or you draw a guide card, which you get to put next to you and use it whenever you want. But if the guide rule is you could take the unwanted card and put it at the bottom of the deck, but you have to draw the next one. So eventually you're going to get to it, or not, if you don't need that operations. All right, so I do have several scouts. Rogers is a scout. My 3 Rangers are scouts, and therefore I'm able to reveal the next one. And luckily, if I would have just went in here, I would have to fight an ambush, and I may not survive that ambush, which would cost me the mission. So I didn't have to do it. I found the intel. I just want to show you. So that was number 1. Number 2 is movement, and I don't want to have to go through here because that would be 1 to get to Crown Point, and then have to possibly fight a battle there. 2, I'd have to stop at Ticonderoga because it's an objective, and a French fort you have to stop, and then 3 would get me home. So what I want to do is avoid that, and I'm going to go back the route I came from and move 3. 2 for the mountains. I have to stop there. Now, 3rd is I draw a card. Up card, and it's Indian ambush. So here we go. Have to make an alert check to see if I'm going to have to go to combat procedures. So, roll a die, and pre-roll of 2. And it says if it's less than and equal to the alert level, you go to combat. Well, my alert level is a 1 here. So I rolled a 2. That means I passed the alert level. And a die roll should be read greater than alert level, no effect. So I avoided the battle. Now, let me demonstrate. Let's just say that I rolled a 1 and I go to combat procedures. So what are combat procedures? If it doesn't tell you on here, then what you'll do is you will roll a die. So let's just use the dice tower here, roll it in here, and it's 2. So what that means is you go into your hostile bin, which contains these hostiles, and you draw a couple of hostile markers out. And what do we have here is we have a leader, which is a 2. With the plus is a tactical advantage. They have a tactical advantage. And then they have militia 2. That's their weak unit. And you put them in order of strength, and you get to decide who fires first. So I'm going to put their leader first. and then their militia. Again, this is just a simulated battle. Then you line up your guys. And I'm going to put Rogers last, because if Rogers dies, game over, right? He's got to get back. I mean, that's the whole thing is about Rogers, Rangers. And if Rogers doesn't make the mission, again, it's maybe half the house rule is not as clear, but my understanding. All right, so the first thing you do is you line them up, and I think I'm gonna put the Indian up, because there's an Indian post-battle chart here I'm rolling on, that if you have the Indian, it could be good, it could be bad. I'm gonna put this guy up front, so if I lose him, he's the first one that you would lose. Let's see, I'm gonna give Rogers the hatchet. That gives him a +1. And the long rifle, I'm gonna just keep, because you're gonna lose it if you lose that guy. I'm gonna put him all the way at the end there. And then I line these two guys up. So first thing you do is you roll for tactical advantage, and you set the hostile force, and when they fire at the first unit. You fire down the order, okay, at any unit you want. All right, so we're going to take one blue die and one red die, blue representing the French hostiles and red representing Rogers Ranger, who is a special operations unit working with the British in the French and Indian War. And I rolled a die, and I have a 5-1. They have one tactical advantage, so they would have a 6. I have 2, so it's 5-3. So the hostiles, the French, win the tactical advantage. And what that means is they fire first. All right, so the leader rolls one die, and what he has to do is roll less than or equal to his combat strength. So he needs a 1 or a 2. I'll roll a blue die, and it's a 2, so it's a hit. So he kills the first unit in my line, and I'm just going to move him over here. And there goes the Indian, and that guy's out. He cannot return fire. That's the advantage of a tactical advantage. Then it alternates, so it's now the British turn, or Rogers, and it's a 3/3 unit, combat strength of 3. So I'm going to roll a red die, and it's a 2, and so that's a hit. I need a 1, 2, or 3, and I get to choose any one I want. Well, the one I was shooting for would be the leader. I want to get him out the way, and you're removed. Put him back in the bin. And he's fired, so I'll slide him over. Now it's the hostiles' turn. Their militia's going to shoot. I'll use a blue die. And 2. Boy, they're firing really well. So the next one, it's a hit. He has to roll a 1 or a 2. And this is the next one in line. So he kills one of my ranger units. This could be a very bloody affair. And so then my next unit in line is going to fire. And there's only one hostile to fire at. So dice tower. And, oh, I'm shooting well, too. That's a 1. I needed a 1, 2, a 3. And I killed their militia unit back in the hostiles' bin for the next combat. So I didn't have to do this battle. I just simulated to show you what happens. So these two guys, the Indian and the one ranger who was KIA, are put into what's called the Ranger Units Eliminated box. And they're gone. They're out the game. Can't recruit them. And then the rest of these guys, technically they're where the pawn is. They go back to the so-called force. I'm just going to keep them out here on the side for now, but they're technically that pawn. And that was combat. I just simulated, didn't have combat, and then there's no objective to reveal. So the next turn, 6 or whatever it is, there's no scouting. I'm going to move 3, 1, 2, 3. I do not have to stop at a French fort. I'm going to draw a ops card, and it is Ranger Relief Column. And basically you do an alert check, which is still at 1, and I rolled a die. It's a 3, so I did not get the results, which is if you roll less than that, you would recruit 1 Ranger or Light Infantry at no unit cost, place it with the operating force, also place 1 supply with the unit. So that's a very good positive operations card. I didn't get it. I rolled greater than, ignore the equal, greater than the alert level, so no effect. And there's no combat. There's no objective to reveal. I go to the next turn, which I believe is turn 7, if I counted correctly. And there's no scouting. And I'm just going to move, and this would be 1, 2, back, home, 3, and that's it. You don't have to draw a card. I brought the intel back, and so, oh, I didn't bring it back. Should have brought it back with me, and game over. And I hope you enjoyed the playthrough.